SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. From personal banking to growing your business or buying a home, our expert guidance makes it simple. We're more than a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Welcome in. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us, for making us part of your morning routine. Glad to have you along. And make sure that you have an umbrella or a rain jacket handy. Really probably going to need that all across the state of Mississippi. You may be waking up to some thunder that's popping, some lightning that's flashing outside the window. Much of that going to move off to the east and out of Mississippi, but it's just going to kind of continue throughout the day. And then late this afternoon into tonight, the radar and the forecast not all that good. We're looking for a mostly bark and not a lot of bite day from a weather standpoint. It's one of those spring days that you tend to think of more late March, early April. But here we are in early May, and we may have one of those days. I'm Richard Cross. Lance Tolbert is in the studio. He's keeping an eye on the weather today. Good morning, my friend.
What's going on, my man? Yeah, it looks a little dicey this morning around 6, 7 a.m., northeast Mississippi, northwest Mississippi. Got a little yellow and some red, little finger paint going on. So if you're in that neck of the woods early this morning, be careful. But it'll be rolling through as the day goes on. So it looks like most of the state will be affected. Hopefully, as you said, it will be spotty and miss us with the rough stuff.
Can this be it for any remaining pollen? Like, if we've got to go through a severe weather day, can it at least wash off whatever is left of the pollen and let's just move past that for the year?
I think Mother Nature's listening. You got a 25, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, bunch of rain. That'll probably help wash it on down the road, Get into the creeks and the hollers and wash on out to the Gulf of America. We
have reached the final phase of pollen and shedding of blooms and buds and things in my yard, and this is the one that drives me crazy. It's like we should be done, but we're getting the little pollen whirlybirds out of the oak trees, and the stupid magnolia leaves decide that now's the time to shed. And see, there are magnolia leaves everywhere. It's like, come on. Just let your leaves fall in the fall with everything else. Why you got to be different, Mr. Magnolia?
It's so prehistoric. It's been around since the beginning of time. It has a mind of its own. It's kind of like an alligator, the magnolia and the alligator. It's funny how we have both in spades here.
Yeah.
Been around for a while. Both of those.
Crocodile or alligator older?
I don't know. That's a great question. I guess depending on, where you're taking a sample, but it may be the crocodile. I mean, if the cradle of man is Africa, as they say, you would think the crocodile would probably have come before. A
little more indigenous.
Maybe so.
Corinth, you're going to top out at about 65 degrees tonight. Overnight lows in the low 50s. Showers and thunderstorms are likely, possibly strong, maybe severe, damaging winds, and hail could be in the mix. Possibility of a tornado. The rainfall expected in Corinth today between 1 and 2 inches. Whew. Cleveland, you're going to get up to 72. Upper 50s tonight, overnight. Severe thunderstorms, showers, thunderstorms likely, some storms same story. Damaging wind, hail, heavy rain, chance of a tornado, winds out of the south and southwest. We're in east central Mississippi. In Quitman, you've got a high today of 82, so a good bit warmer for you than in the northern part of the state. Severe thunderstorms are possible, especially this afternoon and evening. Your percentage chance of rain somewhere in the 70 to 80% range, though I think I would bet on it today. Heavy rain possible in some of these storms. And in Poplarville, 84, maybe the warm spot today for the entire state. Tonight going to be down into the upper 60s. Not as big a chance for rain and thunderstorms. A lot of this may miss you today in Poplarville. Certainly less intense than what you've got to your north. So overall today, this frontal system and upper-level disturbance going to bring widespread showers, thunderstorms, and in some cases heavy rain across the Magnolia State with a higher severe weather risk than is normal this time of year. Hold on to your hat. Oof. Wouldn't be a bad day to take a nap.
Sounds like it. I mean, by 4, it looks like the state will be pretty covered. You know, maybe some spottiness to it, but the radar's got it blanketed by 4, so that might be nap time.
You could find a good tin roof.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I just need to, build a little lean-to, in the backyard, hang a hammock under it, just a tin roof.
Hang a swing in it or a hammock,
Just for the rainy days.
It's got to be big enough, though, that you don't get, the moisture droplets that come in on you.
No.
Yeah. You got to be covered. Screen it in to keep the skeeters out.
Yeah, I mean, I can go lowbrow. The skeeters don't like me too much, but I'd go like a net over me if I had to or something. Mm-hmm. You ever done the skeeter net?
Yeah.
Not my favorite, but
does serve
it's not
a purpose.
wonderful,
I suppose.
And when you're turkey hunting and you got that sticky net over your face, everything's just you're sweating and it's sticking to you. Man, this is miserable. But you're not getting eaten up, so.
Yeah. Short-term pain for long-term, I guess.
You hoping so, right.
I guess.
Dang, turkeys are smart, man.
Sigmund Freud was born on this day in 1856, the Austrian neurologist and founder of psychoanalysis, also credited with the Freudian slip. Maximilien Robespierre.
Heck of a name.
Don't know anything about him, just kind of wanted to say that name, just going to be honest with you. He was born in 1758, and he was a revolutionary leader for the French. A Robespierre.
That's solid there.
Maximilian. That's a strong name. Maximilian's a strong name.
Yeah, definitely. You don't hear anybody going by a million. It's always Max, but parents may be a little pretentious.
If the name is Maximilian and you actually go by Maximilian, how big of a flex is that?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the guy that was the emperor of France there for a bit. The guy that got put in power in Mexico. You had Maximilian. He was the so he went by Maximilian. I don't think anybody was allowed to call him Max. You're in charge. You get to go by what you want to go by.
Yeah,
like Maximilian Strong.
Robert Peary, born in 1856, an American explorer who reached the North Pole. C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Always lots going on at C Spire right now. New and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com today. Richard, did you say moisture droplets? I did. And before you go, well, isn't that rain? Yes, of course it is.
Just another way of saying it.
But have you ever been on a porch, screened or otherwise, open, and you're in a comfortable chair or you're on a porch swing or one of those bed swings, and you're covered, but it's raining outside, and you're like, I'm far enough back that I shouldn't be getting wet, and I feel like these little bitty droplets are still getting me. Those are the ones I'm talking about.
It happens all the time.
Moisture droplets.
Yeah, I've got like a umbrella, and it does a good job until it comes a downpour. Got a couple of them kind of together, and you can't avoid the moisture droplets, even though you're fully covered.
Orson Welles was born on this day in 1915, the actor, director, and filmmaker, most famous, I suppose, for Citizen Kane.
The War of the World's a pretty big deal. too.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah, got everybody fooled on that. That's a pretty interesting story. Got to be pretty good at the radio thing to get the whole country in a tizzy.
Yeah.
Over an alien invasion.
George Clooney, 65 today, the actor, director, producer, partial owner of a highly successful tequila company. When did you first know about George Clooney?
What was it? He was in that, is it ER or something?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the thing?
Yeah, that was the one. ER. Bob Seger, born on this day in 1945. He turns the page today. Naomi Scott, actress from Aladdin and Charlie's Angels, born in 1993. Chris Paul, point guard in the NBA's 41. The great Willie Mays, no longer with us. He was born in 1931, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. Tell you what happened in this day in history, and then look at some news headlines when we come back. Just getting started with you, CC. Here we go. He says moisture droplets is so racist.
Yeah, well, it's par for the course this week. So.
We are back after this. Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us.
I can't wait to get on the road again.
Good morning.
With Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Whiskey River, take my mind. Don't let a memory torture me. Whiskey River, don't run dry.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. In 1527, you had the sack of Rome. Spanish and German imperial troops loot Rome, killing thousands and effectively ending the Renaissance. The Pope taken as prisoner. A rough day.
Yeah, it was the Germans, as they say. And you never think about that. The 1527 Germans invading Rome, Spaniards.
Bit of foretelling.
Yeah, man, that's a way back machine, isn't it?
1626, Dutch colonist Peter Minuet purchased Manhattan Island from the Native Americans for goods worth about 60 guilders. This was the famous purchase of New York. I meant to look this up last night. Value of 60 guilders. All right. Sorry, there we go. Let's see what this says. The 60 guilders used to purchase Manhattan in 1626, frequently cited as being worth approximately $24 at
30,
the time.
I'm getting $33.52.
Though modern estimates place its value closer to $1,000 in contemporary currency.
Pretty good deal either way.
Adjusted for inflation, still feels like a pretty reasonable deal.
Yeah. Cool grand for New York, yeah. I mean,
and you think there's a great grandson or daughter of Peter Minuet that's going, could somebody have thought ahead and us have held on to a little bit of this dirt?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you don't know the name very well, but there could be some long lost or either great grandchildren or something in there that
maybe
they got deeded something. You may be in another name, or maybe that's Trump's original people. I don't know. It's not a very Minuet. I've never heard of him outside of the purchase of New York. So
yeah,
don't know any family members.
Which is a significant enough accomplishment, I would say.
You got that right,
especially for $24.
It's a deal,
or $1,000 or whatever it was. Which would you rather have on your resume, the Louisiana purchase or the purchase of New York?
I'm going with New York just for sheer world pecking order, considering it's what the many people say the greatest city on the planet, or it was at one time.
Greatest city in the world. Greatest city.
Man, I'd probably go with that out of the gate. But I'm a hunter. I like the outdoors, so
Yeah, I'm going
Personally-
Louisiana Purchase just for volume.
Yeah, I mean, for me my personal use, I'd go with
Yeah, I get
purchase
you.
there of Louisiana.
I get you. Goes, well, I bought New York. Well, I bought half the United States. Yes, but New York. That's cute. Nice island.
Yeah.
Good weather.
Good weather.
The Eiffel Tower officially opened to the public in Paris on this day in 1889. It was the entrance arch for the Exposition Universelle, or the World's Fair at the time. 1937, you had the Hindenburg disaster. The German Zeppelin Hindenburg catches fire, destroyed while attempting to dock at Lakehurst, New Jersey, killed 36 people. Oh, the humanity.
Watching that, too, you wonder how anybody lived through it. And the people that were on the ground trying to moor it as it, comes down in flames. And they're just running, and you see people coming out of that fire that were workers on the ground. It blows my mind every time I watch that video that anyone could have made it through that, but they did. That was the end of the dirigible.
3 minutes, 59 and 4/10 seconds. Today was the day. 1954, Roger Bannister became the first person to run a sub-4-minute mile.
And everybody who was running behind him was upset. Man, we got to pick it up.
And just last week, we had somebody run the first sub-2-hour marathon. 1994, the Channel opened. The UK and France linked. You had Queen Elizabeth and President Francois Mitterrand were there to mark the occasion. Babe Ruth hit his first Major League home run as a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox on this day in 1915. FDR created the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, as part of the New Deal on this day in 1935. John Steinbeck won a Pulitzer for The Grapes of Wrath. And you had the final episode of So No One Told You Life Was Gonna Be This Way.
Figured you were going to hit that one today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were you a Friends fan, or are you a Friends fan?
Oh, sure.
So, to me, it was more like a competition between Seinfeld and Friends, so I had to stay loyal to my Seinfeld. But I just never really got into the Friends stuff. I mean, it's a good show. Yeah. Some good-looking ladies in there.
Yeah, I was not appointment viewing for it, but I watched Friends. I certainly have seen more episodes of Friends than I have of Seinfeld.
Okay.
Just like over the course. But even though that was kind of high school into college age for me, I didn't do a lot of just, oh, man, let's sit down and watch this. I'm going to do that every single week. It's like, man, we just had stuff.
Well, I had to watch Wings was my favorite back in that era, at Lowell. And
watched a lot of Wings.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. I kind of went with that as that was my game there until I got turned on to Seinfeld. It had been on forever before I finally said, all right, I'll watch it.
Heck yeah, Lance. Whiskey River, Take My Mind. What a way to get started today.
Yes, sir.
Jeff in Grenada says, me, Lance, and Willie, and we're good.
I'm in.
Johnny and Brandon, what about the purchase of Alaska from Russia?
Yeah, I like that deal, too. Seward's Folly.
Yeah.
I don't think it was much of a folly.
That's one that somebody had their crystal ball out and was looking into the future and thought, this might be strategically important one day.
The one thing, too, is I was looking at one of the maps that it does for the whole United States as to who produces what state exports what. And there's only one inside the continental United States that actually exports a live animal, which is beef. I think it was like Wyoming. But Alaska I thought it would be oil, or oil services. Fishing is their largest export, which I thought was really cool. I guess you got a huge halibut industry up there. Yeah. Just kind of forget about those things,
Yeah. I remember Paul Harvey telling that the Indians didn't even live there in New York at the time. They actually lived across the river. It wasn't even theirs to sell. So maybe that $24 that they got, they're like, this Minuet guy, what a sucker. We got him. Who knew? Northern Exposure was a good series back then. Wings was great.
at the Moose on Northern Exposure.
We're not on the air in Greenwood.
Yeah. I'm working on that.
Trying to get her fixed. Thank you. News headlines, a sheriff's deputy. And there we go. Update from yesterday. Story from Starkville. Coach, who was a sheriff's deputy, and umpire who wasn't a sheriff's deputy, fighting after a Sunday afternoon baseball game in Starkville. Decisions you make on Saturday and Sunday can sometimes affect your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's been fired. Oktibbeha County Sheriff Shank Phelps. Sheriff named Shank.
Ooh. Prison guard.
You better watch out right there. Announced on Monday that Darrell Holly is no longer a member of the law enforcement department. He was a lieutenant in the sheriff's office. He was arrested on Sunday for fighting with the umpire in a youth baseball game. He was the coach for the local 14U Sports Performance Center select team in Aikens, an umpire for the Grand Slam tournament happening in Starkville, was spotted on camera throwing several punches after the game had concluded. A player reported to be Holly's son participated. He was the sucker punch guy, if you watch the video. Phelps, Sheriff Shank, that is, Sheriff Shank Phelps, long arm of the law, said, regardless of the circumstances, the Oktibbeha County Sheriff's Department will not tolerate this type of behavior. Baseball field is supposed to be a place of fun and family. Fighting has no place there. Well said, sir. Well said. Scant on details, but an officer with the Pearl Police Department recovering from injuries he sustained while recovering to a call for service. The police chief in Pearl is Nick McClendon. He said he had an officer seriously injured in a crash on Highway 80 on Monday night. He was transported to local hospital. Didn't give much in the way of injuries, but said there were a bunch of them. Officer was released late Monday night from the hospital in stable condition. Sheriff said he's banged up, but doing okay. We are incredibly thankful for all the continued prayers and support. We get a message here that says Shane Phelps is a Panola County sheriff. Well, I said Shank. Maybe they're related. Back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook Docks
with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Try and earn $1. Every time I call my baby to try to get a date, my boss says no dice, son, you
gotta work late.
Sometimes I wonder what I'm gonna do, cause there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Glad to be with you. Thanks for joining us as your day begins, perhaps with raindrops falling on your head. Thanks for being with us. Mornings presented by Community Bank. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Mississippians affected by Winter Storm Fern have had to deal with plenty, and now they are dealing with scammers. According to the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, bad actors have been coercing storm victims to pay $150 for assistance in completing paperwork for aid from the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the SBA. The aid is available for residents living and working in the 36 Mississippi counties that were hit hardest by the weather event. To avoid being scammed, MEMA officials urge the public to go to the government agency's website. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith has chimed in on this, adding that government agencies will never charge money to help fill out disaster assistance paperwork. Half of Mississippi impacted, trees, power lines, 180,000 customers without power at its peak, many for an extended period of time, 29 dead. Just to be completely honest here, don't let these people help you, by the way. They're scammers. I'd pay $150 for somebody to do the paperwork for me, though. If they were actually going to do the paperwork and submit it, I'd be okay with that. I don't think they're actually doing that. I think they are convincing you that they are doing it, collecting your $150, then moving on to the next sucker. But if there was somebody that wanted to actually fill the paperwork out for that, I would in a heartbeat.
Not a big fan of paperwork myself.
Ugh. I am the world's worst with expense reports. Just hate them. Hate them. Teenagers who commit certain gun crimes in Mississippi will automatically be tried as adults beginning July 1. You may remember this from the session this year. State lawmakers passed a bill that will result in people under 18 bypassing youth court and going straight to circuit court if charged with certain violent felony offenses involving a firearm. Offenses like homicide, aggravated assault, armed robbery. Joey Fillingane from Sumrall was the author of the bill. It was one that Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann pushed for, predicting that it will not only be a solution to rising youth court gun crimes or youth gun crimes, but also will help reduce the number of catch and release incidents among youth. The LG says if you're younger than 18 and you commit a crime with a gun, you're tried as an adult. That's something I've been after for a long time. People in this state are tired of finding people who are 15 or 16-year-olds shoot somebody or rob somebody or whatever. Then they're not tried as an adult, and they basically skip free. Limited statistics in Mississippi for tracking. Public health data, though, shows an increase in firearm-related deaths among children in recent years, according to the Mississippi State Department of Health. Child firearm-related deaths increased by more than 70% in a 3-year window between 2009 and 2022. Nationally, a 50% surge in child firearm-related deaths since 2019. Mississippi not the lone wolf on this. Other states like Indiana, Oregon, Kentucky, and Illinois have enacted similar legislation for more adult court exposure for youth committing certain gun crimes. Those are your news headlines this morning. It is time for a sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort online. PearlRiverResort.com, PearlRiverResort.com, your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. Scores from around the SEC last night. We'll start in Starkville. Whoo, buddy. It was a stat sheet game for Mississippi State last night. 21 runs, 18 hits, nary an error, in a 21-6 victory over Nichols. Dogs scored 12 in the bottom of the first. And then 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 3 in the fifth, and that was just about it.
The white flag got thrown.
Yes, sir.
The towel is in.
How many home runs we got last night? Ace Reese hit 2, Jacob Parker hit 1, Reed Stallman hit 1, Drew Wires hit 1 as well. Blake Beavis and Reed Stallman both had doubles. The starting pitcher last night for Mississippi State, Chris Billingsley, went 3 1/3. He gave up 6 hits and 5 earned runs. Jack Gleason and Parker Rhodes pitched afterward. It was Gleason that got the win. Ace Reese was 4 for 5 with 6 runs batted in. Jacob Parker 3 for 5 with 5 ribbies. Reed Stallman 4 for 5 with 5 ribbies. Whew.
Yeah, it's a night there. I mean, you come out and you give up 2 runs in the first inning, and you're like, man, this is midweek. It's not looking good.
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Oh, we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one. And then 12, bang, back in it.
Yeah. Bryce Chance still leading Mississippi State with a 365 average. Ace Reese hitting 317 with 17 home runs, 19 doubles, and 60 runs batted in. What a year.
What a player.
Mm-hmm. Got off to just a tick slower start than he would have liked, I think, but
He's been on a heater, though.
He has been on a heater. Florida beat UNF 11-1, Tennessee 8-1 over Presbyterian. Vanderbilt trailed but came back and won 12-6 over Louisville. Troy wins over Alabama 6-1. A&M 16-7 over Prairie View. Auburn beat UAB. Texas over UTSA. LSU beats Tulane. Missouri and Arizona State were scheduled to play, but they did not.
They had 2 nice ones, too. 2 upsets out there last night. Clemson knocked off number 8 Coastal 8-4, and then Kansas, who's been in the top 10 for a while, Creighton took them down 9-3. 3 errors for Kansas in that one. Usually doesn't add up to W's.
Yeah, Kansas has
they've been playing some ball, man.
Really good. NBA playoffs are going on, in case you care. Oklahoma City beat the Lakers last night fairly handedly to take a 1-game lead in the conference semifinals. Minnesota got game 1 over the San Antonio Spurs. That was, I guess, 2 nights ago, or maybe that was last night. Pistons took game 1 against the Cavaliers, and the New York Knickerbockers, they are playing some basketball.
Kind of a throwback to a different era with the Knicks and the 76ers there together.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Sixers. That's
the
German
Sixers,
for Sixers, yeah.
Yes, the Sixers knocked the Celtics out in round 1 in 7 games. So we'll try to keep you up on what's happening there. MLB standings, we're a piece into the season now, 36, 38 games so far, so almost a quarter of the way through. Yankees lead the American League East, having won 5 in a row in 8 of their last 10. Tampa Bay nipping on their heels, also having won 5 in a row. Detroit and Cleveland atop the American League Central, both a game above 500. So you can be 25-11 in the AL East with a game and a half lead, or you can be 18-19 in the Central and be tied for first.
Yeah, Central and West is a mess.
Poo-poo. American League West, A's in front of the Mariners with an 18-17 record. The Braves have a 9.5 game lead over the Phillies with a 26-11 record. Best record in baseball for the Atlanta Braves. Cubs leads the Central by 2.5. Chicago in front of St. Louis. And out west, go figure, the Dodgers in first place. But only by half a game, 22-14. They are just in front of the San Diego Padres. A request, you ask, we'll give it to you. Somebody said, what about softball? Well, the SEC softball tournament is ongoing. It is being played in Lexington. Got started yesterday and did so with some drama, or if you prefer, drama. Mississippi State with a big win to get the tournament going over the host Kentucky, beat them 4-3. Auburn won over Missouri in the 14-11 game. That was Mississippi State, the 10 seed, knocking out Kentucky. Ole Miss knocks out South Carolina. 2-zip the final in that one. So we continue today in the SEC softball tournament. Auburn and Texas A&M at 10 Central. Mississippi State and Arkansas at 1 Central. Ole Miss and Tennessee at 4 Central. Georgia and LSU tonight. If Ole Miss and State both win, I think they would play tomorrow.
Good morning from the benefit.
Let's go. Waking up the Magnolia State. Mornings with Richard Cross. That's what it's here for. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mississippi Lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. We do it every day. Let's give you, some updates. Powerball coming tonight, $30 million. Cash value, $13.5 million. Next up for Mega Millions Friday night, $215 million. You think they keep that in cash somewhere?
Just a whole vault full of ones. Yeah. Just ones.
Ones.
Yeah. Easy to spend.
That would be inefficient.
It's easy to spend, though. You can tip. You don't have to ask anybody for change. You're always you always got it. Perfect change.
Well, Lance, if you won a $250 million jackpot and all you carried was hundreds, you wouldn't have to ask anybody for change either.
Well, I'd hire somebody to carry my money for me. Let's get the suitcase. Let's roll.
Estimated cash value there, $95.2 million. Not too shabby. Get ready to spin big, Mississippi. The Mississippi Lottery is rolling out 3 all-new Wheel of Fortune scratch-off games this May. Tickets starting at just $2. You can play your way up to top prizes of $200,000. Plus, you've got multipliers and instant wins on every ticket, potentially on every ticket. We're not promising an instant win on every ticket, but you could. And by the way, the excitement doesn't stop there. After if you happen to have a ticket that doesn't win, you can enter it into the second chance promotion for a shot at more than $250,000 in cash prizes and a chance to go to the place that Jed Clampett went.
What, Beverly Hills?
Hollywood and movie stars. You can go to Los Angeles, L.A. You can see Beverly Hills while you're there with a chance to win. Play today. You could be the next big winner with the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com.
And you don't have to sell your land and move, the whole family.
Now, the next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolks said Jed.
See, my mama we always said that she was, Granny.
Beverly Hills.
My mama was Granny, basically. So,
yeah.
just like her. And I was a huge Double Naught Spy fan of Jethro. Having the rope as the belt. I mean, how can you beat that guy? His dad was the heavyweight champ, Max Baer, another Max. I don't know if he was a Maximilian, but Ellie Mae. Oh goodness, she liked her critters. The Drysdale, man, what a dude.
Oh, good
great
stuff.
Show, man. I mean, it was great.
Good stuff.
Making the moonshine in the backyard next to with the Grecian pool with the columns everywhere.
I believe nouveau riche is how you describe that. What's coming up this morning? Well, about 20 minutes from right now, we will visit with the Secretary of State, Michael Watson. I will tell you in advance, there is, I think, a limit to what Secretary Watson is going to be able to tell us. I've been reading, trying to read, digging, talking to people, trying to get a sense of what this special session, which is scheduled for May 20th, is going to look like. What people are thinking about redistricting, congressional district lines, trying to get back to the district lines that you had legislatively just a year ago. And friends, you may need 6 years in law school to sift through all of the legal maneuvering and haranguing that is going on between Judge Sherian Aycock's court, the Fifth Circuit, the back and forth, the role the Election Commission plays, the role that the defendants play, that the plaintiffs play. It's the ACLU and others that are suing the state of Mississippi and the Election Commission. I say all that to say, and I hope that the conversation with Secretary Watson will, if you don't already, some of you already understand how complex this issue is, or these sets of issues are. I hope it will shine a little more light on how difficult it's going to be to go down the redistricting road and go down it well with the outcome that you're hoping for. We'll see. Looking forward to that conversation coming up in just a bit. Also, a little bit later this morning in the 8 o'clock hour, we will be joined by Don Redman from AAA. What's going on with gas prices, other than the fact that they are up? What does the horizon look like? Back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm. Thanks for joining us. News is next.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
What is it? What's going on?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
He gets off on country music, 'cause disco left him cold. He's got young friends and a new wave, but he's just too friggin' old. And he dreams at night of Woodstock and the day John Lennon died. How the music made him happy and the silence made him cry.
Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday morning, middle of the week. Today is May 6th, 2026, just after 7 o'clock, and you've got it locked into Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. With C-Spire, it's easier than ever to get all the devices you want in one move with the Ultimate Connect bundle. Right now, new and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet, plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. That includes the new iPhone 17 and Samsung Galaxy S26 for free, and a free smartwatch and a tablet to go with it. Don't wait. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com or stop by your local C-Spire store today. Let's peek at Iran for a minute before Secretary of State Michael Watson joins us in studio for a conversation this morning. So, couple of interesting developments. Operation Epic Freedom, which was the newest phase of the conflict between the United States and Iran. Talked about a lot over the weekend. This was the escorting of the ships, the protecting of the ships, allowing them to flow through the Strait of Hormuz. That really ruffled the feathers of the Iranians. And they fired on some boats, and they took some shots at the UAE. Apparently, there is a level of we're going to shoot at your boats that is at least somewhat acceptable. A level of we're going to fire missiles at your country that is somewhat acceptable and doesn't necessarily violate a ceasefire or doesn't rise to the level of significance or concern that there is a violation of a ceasefire. I'm honestly having a little bit of trouble with this. Like from a mental standpoint, ceasefire to me means don't shoot anymore. And if you shoot at me or you shoot at one of my teammates, then you broke the ceasefire. At least that's the way I understand it. Apparently there is gray area within a ceasefire, and the United States and even the Emiratis have said, Well, it really didn't rise to the level of a true violation of a ceasefire. I think that is indicative of something else, though. I think that is indicative that the United States, the Gulf states, and interestingly enough, China want this war to stop. They want it to end. And so they are allowing, this is Richard editorializing. I may be off on this and you may disagree with it. But they are allowing Iran to stick out its chest just a little bit and flex just a little bit, maybe in the name of saving face with some of its people, although who's it trying to do that for? Before stepping to the final negotiating table and saying, no mas, we're done. And to me, the evidence that supports that is layered, right? First of all, it's the United States, if it wanted to, would be well within its rights to say, you violated the ceasefire, bomb, 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 bomb Iran. You could do that.
Iran.
You could do that if you wanted to, and you'd be well within your rights. But I don't think that's what Trump wants to do at this point. Ceasefire text line. So much for unconditional surrender. This whole thing has been a clown show. Has it? Like, ultimately, has it? If you are against this war, by golly, no matter what, I certainly recognize that you would look at this and be like, man, what a clown show. They don't know what they're doing from day to day. If you look at this from the standpoint that for 47 years, American leaders have looked at Iran and say, they need to be put in their place. This is a ticking time bomb. This is an evil regime. They are closer than they have ever been to having a nuclear weapon, and we think they are the most unstable country in the world if they have a nuclear weapon outside perhaps of North Korea. They are the biggest sponsor of state terrorism in the world, and it's got to stop. And then you look at the way this has proceeded, the relative small number of American casualties. Any is too many. But we know that zero in a conflict like this that lasts for this amount of time is unlikely. Then I think there are a lot of ways you can measure this operation as a success, not the least of which is Iran's capability to obtain a nuclear weapon is now basically gone. Now, the caveat that I would put on that is you cannot agree to anything without getting the nuclear material out. That has to be part of the event. And hold me to this, okay? Hold me to this. If we do not get the nuclear material in whatever agreement, whatever arrangement happens, then I will say to you this was a waste. You didn't do what you went to do. Yes, you crippled them. Yes, you pushed them back. If you don't get the nuclear material to eradicate their ability to develop a nuclear bomb, then you failed. Hold me to that. Here's the other thing that says to me that the restraint by the United States and the other Gulf states for Iran firing off some weapons, shooting at some boats, flexing a little bit is this. This morning, the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was in Beijing, meeting with Wang Yi, who is China's foreign minister. And the Chinese foreign minister did not mince words. He said China was deeply distressed by the conflict, and it needed to end, and it needed to end immediately. He said, quote, "We believe that a comprehensive ceasefire is urgently needed, that a resumption of hostilities is not acceptable, and that it is particularly important to remain committed to dialogue and negotiations. That the conflict has already lasted for more than 2 months. It has not only caused serious losses to the Iranian people, but also had a severe impact on regional and global peace. China is deeply distressed by this." Not that you would expect it, but there was not a trace of a smile to be seen on the face of the Chinese foreign minister. China was telling Iran what's up publicly. The United States, you want to talk about the spider web of international relationships? Reportedly, the United States has been encouraging China to urge Iran to reopen the strait. China has the ability to do that because of their financial arrangements with Iran. We have an issue with China. We know that the strait being choked off is probably affecting China more than anybody else, and yet we also need the strait to be open. And so what do? We go, hey, China, why don't you put a little pressure on them? We need to open this thing back up. China's like, we agree. Strange bedfellows, this global political web.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Wake up.
Get going.
All right.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Wake up.
I start walking your way, you start walking mine. We meet in the middle, meet that old Georgia pine.
Welcome back. Morning to Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Today is May 6th. Coming up on May 8th, it is the 91st annual meeting of the Delta Council. It will take place on the lawn at the MSU Delta Research and Extension Center in Stoneville, Mississippi. This event marks a significant change from the 90-year tradition at Delta State, with the meeting being held about a month earlier than normal. The keynote speaker for the event, United States Representative Glenn G.T. Thompson, Jr., who's the House Committee on Agriculture. Salute to Honor Graduates begins at 9 a.m. with the business session beginning at 10:30. For more information, you can visit the website deltacouncil.org. It really is an interesting meeting if you've never been to a Delta Council meeting. A lot of important people are there and show up for that every year. All right, happy to have our first guest this morning, the Secretary of State right here in Mississippi. Michael Watson joins us. Mr. Secretary, I was thinking before you sat down, you know the games that you would play as a kid, the word search games, like had all the letters and you had to circle them either vertically or horizontally or diagonally. There was always a category. And I think if you went like legal issues in Mississippi, you could have nothing but words in that, trying to tie all of this together. I appreciate your time. I've already told our listeners that there's some things that you may not be able to answer because of ongoing legal proceedings. But can you give us an overview to kind of bring us up to speed with where we are right now in terms of court cases and redistricting and the future of elections in the state?
I can. And first of all, Corbeth and I love the word searches, so
yes,
she would enjoy participating in that with the legal terms. And don't forget the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Want to make sure we got that in.
Thanks, yeah.
Outside of that, with elections, yeah, man, it has been a busy couple of weeks, couple of months. So, first of all, you well know the Calais case came down from the Supreme Court, and that's triggered a lot of this conversation about redistricting. We also had the case dealing with our Supreme Court districts, which Judge Aycock up in Northeast Mississippi ruled on, and we've been in some conversations of late, some couple of motions perhaps being filed, maybe even today. So I can't really talk much about that. But that also is on the top of our minds. Again, the redistricting piece there, dealing with Calais, doubled up with the Supreme Court questions that are in Mississippi now. As you well know, we have elections that are scheduled for this year. One of them one of the districts had no one qualify because there was not a district for him to qualify in. Again, those things have been on our minds here throughout the entire legislative session. But
let me make sure I understand that clearly. There is a sitting Supreme Court justice who did not qualify for re-election because he does not have a district, because of the limbo that we are in with redistricting as it pertains to Supreme Court districts?
Yes, but that was not Calais. That was the other, I think it's the White case, White v. SBC. So that case basically said there was a Section 2 issue, and you're going to have to redraw those lines, even though we have a African-American sitting Public Service Commissioner and an African-American sitting in the Transportation Commission. I thought she made a terrible decision. Let me stop there before my lawyers get nervous. But
I understand.
Yeah. So that's again foresight. I mean, going into this situation and then Calais coming down made that much more interesting. So we've got a couple of cases that we're dealing with the Supreme Court redistricting as well as Calais now, and it's kind of thrown that mix to us of, well, gosh, how do you proceed? And that's where we are. So we could talk different directions, but I'm very cautious of making sure we don't get too deep in the legal part.
No, I understand that. And you and I have talked before about the challenge that exists for you and others now. As you have made it clear that you are running for Lieutenant Governor, and you had that announcement a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about how do you manage doing the job that you currently have, which is serving as Secretary of State for the state of Mississippi, while also looking to the future and hoping for that opportunity down the line. Your current role is kind of the chief overseer of elections in the state of Mississippi. We've talked so much about election integrity and ballot box integrity. When you hear about, there's so many people that are asking about congressional redistricting, mm-hmm. and primaries have already happened. What might that look like if Mississippi was to go down that road? And I ask that because there are surrounding states that are going down the road. Georgia has said they can't do it. Louisiana has pressed pause. Tennessee seems to be moving forward. Alabama seems to be moving forward. What might that look like in Mississippi, considering that we've already started the process?
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point there because we are in the middle of an election. We've already had our primaries that puts Mississippi in a difficult position. It's not as easy as folks would say, well, let's just flip the switch. No, it's easy to say that from the cheap seats when you don't have to do the hard work. The key there is to dig in. Okay, what does this look like? So for us, and I'm going to back up. Let's go 30,000 foot really quickly and what this would look like timeline, Richard, for us to be able to get everything done. And remember now, you redistrict, that puts the pressure on our circuit clerks, et cetera, at the county level to get these lines put in place in time into SIMS. We've seen issues in the past where you got some folks that the lines, these are not granular. So you got people out literally driving down the road seeing, hey, let's make sure this GPS point here or this address there is on the correct side of the street, and make sure that's the part that's in the map. Because if it's not, then that person is disenfranchised. They can't vote. They're voting in their own district. So there's so much that goes into the redistricting piece. Then putting it into the maps, into the state election management system, that's really hard, and you can't be crunched on that. So if perfect world, if everything miraculously worked out time wise, we would have qualifying end on August the 20th. The ballots would be pushed by September 9th. Then Uakava starts September 21st, and the general special on November 3rd. So that would give our counties until September 9th to get the redistricting done into the maps, et cetera. That's a perfect, and I just want to give you that oversight for a perfect what it looks like to make sure everybody's got at least maximum amount of time to get everything done.
So that is hypothetically if the legislature were to say we are going to redraw congressional districts, but would that mean you would have to invalidate the primaries that have already happened?
And that's the other piece. So if we did that, if the state goes down that line, you're going to have lawsuits. Let's be very clear. Somebody's going to file a lawsuit in that. And look, it goes also down to the congressional members. I think that's the part where can we get everybody on the same page and make sure we're doing this correctly and with plenty of time to make sure that we don't get in a crunch and mess up with our lines into the system, et cetera. So those dates I was telling you is basically these are kind of drop deads. We've got to have everything done by these timelines. So back that up. You got a special session that's called. You also have the complications of being in the middle of an election now. So would the congressman from the 2nd District challenge that? Absolutely. What does that look like in court? Then you say, well, if we're going to have, are we going to have primaries? If we're going to have primaries, again, that time crunch, they're not going to have much time to get those maps done. And then you look at, all our statutes kind of tend to deal with vacancies. Is that a vacancy? The district was not vacated. Again, there's just so many complications in here, Richard, to kind of walk through to make sure that does the statute address that. If it doesn't, you're going to have to add that to the call. We're talking about the Supreme Court.
The call being the special session that the governor has scheduled for May 20th.
Right. And so I'll bring it just another one. Again, we can talk about all kinds of different things here. But Supreme Court, technically, if and this is not in the call now, so it'd have to be added, technically, the reason why nobody was able to qualify is because they didn't know the district. So depending on this White case, if the district stays the same, then really all you missed was the qualifying deadline. So do you just simply move the qualifying deadline back and run it as a regular, typical, election there? So you would have to add that to the special call because that statute specifically is not in there. So again, I'm just saying there's so many different pieces here of the onion to peel back. When you look at a great example, vacancy. Well, there isn't a vacancy because it wasn't vacated. So again, lots to talk about, but it's not just as easy as people think. Hey, let's flip the switch, let's draw lines, and throw the election. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
We'll continue the conversation with the Secretary of State in just a couple of minutes. I will ask you this as we go to the break. I thought it was a really the phrase that you used to say it's easy to sit in the cheap seats and say, "Oh, just do it." And I had this vision of the President of the United States sitting in the upper deck in the corner with the cheapest seat in the building, because I think he's going to be one of the ones that's like, just do it. Just go do it, because that's the encouragement that we've seen from him. And yet I think of him as more of a skybox guy on the 50-yard line.
He was not who I was referring to, the cheap seats.
I know that. I am well aware of that. But I had this vision of he's sitting up there with Secret Service guys and snipers all around him.
He's got a very expensive seat.
Yeah. But it feels like there will be pressure from the White House to try to do this, doesn't it?
100%. And okay. That's you've already seen that in the media, social media especially. It's coming.
We're back right after this with the Secretary of State, Michael Watson. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook
of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
In the car, at home, or at work, it's always free to listen to SuperTalk Mississippi and Mornings with Richard Cross.
Glad to be with you this morning. The 7 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you every day by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Secretary of State Michael Watson is my guest. So as we sit here on May 6th, we know that the governor has called a special session for the purpose of redrawing Supreme Court district lines in Mississippi. But there is pending litigation in the lawsuit at the Chancery Court level, but also a stay at the Circuit Court level. Is that? I may have my courts confused on what is where.
Yeah, so we're a district court, and then you also Court of Appeals issues. So, by the way, 888-808-8637 SuperTalk call-in line. Don't forget that one. But yeah,
we don't use that actually. I appreciate your help with the notes in front of you, but it's the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395.
I was set up.
That was the super secret. Well, now if you want to take calls, we might see if we could reopen that.
Okay.
No, you enjoy visiting with the people of the great state of Mississippi.
Hey, look, we just came off a 3-day 11-city stop announcing Lieutenant Governor. And Richard, that was one of the most fun pieces of it, just talking to everyday Mississippians about the campaign and what's important to them. So really, really enjoyed that. And talking to the people is really where you get your answers. They're smarter than folks give them credit for.
I do want to ask you about that coming up in just a minute. But in terms of where we are right now, theoretically, 2 weeks from today, a special session begins. Is there going to be a need for the special session?
I have reason to believe there will be. Yes. Now, what is in that special session, I think, is the question. For example, as I mentioned to you before, if we can treat the Supreme Court issue, if lines are not forced to be redrawn this year as just a typical election, then all you have to do is move back the qualifying deadline. So that would have to be added to the session. If the governor decides, you know what, the president's correct, we need to bring in our congressional lines, you got to obviously expand the session, what all is entailed there. And again, that's his decision with the special session, and we'll see what happens here in the next few days. So he is dead over there. And if I had a good crossword puzzle here, we would, Corbett and I would look for those.
Not quite sure. We must have had a dead mic issue, and I know Richard is scrambling, working for that right now.
Yeah, so again, if
you want to expand on what you were talking about,
I'd love to.
Yeah, please. And when he pops back in, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let's talk high, much higher level. This whole issue, why folks are upset or not upset about redistricting and the congressional piece. You've seen some of the graphics of late, the New England portion of our country, and it is just rock solid blue. Rarely do you see a red map or red district, and if you look at the breakdowns, we'll take Massachusetts for instance, you got 40+ more percent Republicans that turn out to vote, yet they are not properly represented in Congress. And I think that's one of the things that the president has looked at. Is it good for our country to have these swings? No, I do not think it is. But if you sit by and watch how the left has done this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, at some point in time, if you do not, meet their mettle, for lack of a better term, then they're just going to keep running over you. And I think that's where the president comes in and says, well, and I'm going to take one step back. You've got these, for instance, there's a certain Secretary of State in the state of Michigan that loves to talk about team democracy. Well, if you really want to talk about team democracy, why aren't you out there telling these New England states, hey, you're not doing it right here. This is not team democracy. You're just far left. We should also give the Republican voters out there the ability to be represented in Congress. I don't hear that coming from team democracy. And I think that's where the line gets drawn. They want it one way, period. They want to talk about this great, glorious team democracy, but at the end of the day, they don't want the Republican folks to have a voice. And so I think that's where the president has come in. And, I think you got to tip your cap to them. If they're going to keep playing that way, then if you don't, then eventually you get run over. And I think that's the problem long term. You see Republicans working hard with conservative issues. We're the party of law, and we don't like to play like the left plays. But this is one of those issues that, again, I don't think it's good for the country long term, but part of me says you just don't have a choice. So you're going to have to do something to counteract the way that they operate. Is he back?
You got me now?
Oh, he's back.
Does that work?
Yep.
There we go.
He's in.
Well, we had to do a little bit of scrambling, but may have some weather issues across the state of Mississippi today. Michael Watson, the Secretary of State, is our guest as we wrap things up on Mornings with Richard Cross with him. I'm curious, you mentioned that tour across the state of Mississippi across 3 days. My guess is you needed a nap when that was all said and done because it was a lot in a short amount of time. But when you do something like that, when you bounce across the state and you talk to group after group after group and you get to interact with Mississippians, obviously Mississippians who are for you, at least for the most part, some who are trying to learn, what do you take away from that in terms of meaningful conversations versus just kind of high level, shake hands, smile, and take a picture and move on to the next person?
Yeah, I think the key is there, Richard, you have to listen. And that's the great part about, being an elected official who understands those are the people that hired me to do this job. Those are the folks that will fire me if I don't do my job. And at the end of the day, they're my bosses. And so what really matters around your kitchen table is what I want to get to the work of. Should we move on to the Lieutenant Governor's office? We've got an event coming up this fall. We're going to call it our kitchen table tour. And I've had people ask, where's your platform? What are all the things that you're doing? And we've got that kind of mapped out. But the key is before we wanted to really roll it out, I want to sit down with common just Mississippians who understand, hey, here are the things that really changed my life or could change my life. Here are the things that really impact my family and my community. Those are the things that we need to address. I don't want this, easy, get people excited and, those are great. The red meat issues, et cetera, whatever. I want to do some of the hard things that actually make people's lives better. So, sitting down, traveling the state, listening to them, that's how you get those ideas. And, when people say, hey, this is the specific issue in my community that I see time and time again, why have we not addressed this? Let's address it. And I think it's important that we do hard things. So that's going to be really important to kind of finish out our platform and the ideas of things that we're going to try to work on to accomplish at that office.
You've talked to us a lot about kind of the association of secretaries of state. Do you exchange text messages on like election eve or the day after with other state secretaries of state? I mean, Indiana and Ohio had big election days yesterday. Do you hear from those people or communicate with them around a big election day?
100%. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. And for us, getting towards November when we're all on the clock, we all talk about, hey, look, what are you seeing? What's going in Indiana? What's happening down in New Mexico and Florida, et cetera. So if there are cybersecurity issues or if there are, what other issues you could see on election day that may be happening across the country, it's fun to have them to lean on, to listen to, and to learn from. And I think that's the beautiful part about the 50 Laboratories of Freedom. Different states do it different ways, learning from them. And also, of late, it's been fun for Mississippi to really be able to teach them the things that we're doing. We have skyrocketed up the ladder when it comes to election integrity, and a lot of folks are asking questions. As a matter of fact, I was literally just at an elections conference last weekend talking about the good things happening in Mississippi, and folks are funny that they're paying attention to Mississippi and wanting to learn, well, how did y'all do this? And then it's great. Mississippi literally is at the tip of the spear when it comes to election integrity right now. So being able to go to those events and talk to other secretaries and tell them the great things that are happening in our state has made me really proud of the work that we've done at the Secretary of State's office.
And last thing, it was funny, you were talking about the redistricting battle. And if Mississippi were to go down that road, you suggested that there would be a lawsuit immediately. And I mean, that's not going out on some limb from Representative Thompson. I think we got the example of that and the proof yesterday in Florida. I mean, we're 3 days from the Florida legislature saying these are the new district lines, and the lawsuits literally started yesterday.
That's the left's model. They're going to challenge every single thing they could possibly do in court to draw it out, to make it hard to get it done. So that's coming.
I appreciate your time and wish you all the best. I'm sure we're going to have questions going forward about some of the process as all of this unfolds, and look forward to visiting with you then.
We'll do it. Thanks, Richard.
Safe travel. Secretary of State Michael Watson joining us this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for bearing with us through the technical snafu. Sometimes the weather has plans other than what we have planned. We'll take a time out. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
Stay social during the show at SuperTalk Mississippi on Facebook. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Hey, you're sorry once again. You want me to take you back once more. You say
is properly cooked bacon the most pleasing thing that you can put on your palate?
I'm in, yeah. I agree.
I mean, like, if you're a sweet tooth person versus a salt person, you probably would disagree, and, maybe everybody's got their own taste. But if you get bacon that is just the right crispy without being burned, just the right thickness, just the right saltiness, I don't know that there's anything that can be more pleasing to your palate than that.
Well, bacon is love, so
yeah,
to me it's the best when it comes down to the meats. Bacon fried, microwaved, crispy cooked, a little limp if necessary.
Yeah,
I'm eating it anyway.
Amanda says brown sugar bacon. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to take it to another level, yes. My only problem with when you do the sugary bacon is sometimes you lose the crispiness, and it ends up being like a little more syrupy. If there was a way to do just a touch of sweet, almost like with a sprinkle of brown sugar on it as opposed to cooking it in brown sugar.
It's easy. All you got to do is
I think I could be on board with that.
Take a little bit of peanut oil in a cast iron skillet, get it hot, and drop your bacon in it. And it takes about 10 seconds, and you better pull it out. But if you want the crispy bacon, fry it in a skillet with hot oil, especially the thicker stuff. We're more of a bake the bacon on a baking sheet. You can do that. I mean, nothing wrong with it. I'm saying frying
grease.
it. Yeah, frying it's excellent.
It'll I'm
break
with
a tooth if you ain't careful.
Yeah. C-Spire text line. Well, I can now say that Mr. Guest, that would be our last guest, Mr. Watson, will have my vote for Lieutenant Governor. I've always been a fan of him and his values, and he would be a great representative of our state in that position at this time in his career. That's from Nathan on the C-Spire text line. I don't know if the Secretary of State's listening right now, but congrats on the vote from Nathan. Thomas says, baked, are you communist? No, Thomas, I'm not communist. I am, however, and really my wife more than anything, is one, a little more health conscious than some, two, a little more mess in the kitchen adverse if it's avoidable, and frying bacon in a skillet on the stove is messy 100% of the time. And number three, you can throw it on the baking sheet, put it in the oven, and then just leave it alone for 20 minutes while getting 3 kids ready for school and trying to get out the door in the mornings. So I am fully giving her the All-American Mom title, not the Comrade-produced Thomas and Greenwood title.
I love the rich.
We'll pass on that, Comrade.
Rich and Biloxi.
I mean, you go outside to fry it in an electric skillet. Who's got time for that with 3 kids in the morning? Yeah. All right. You might be going, where did his bacon conversation... I walked and grabbed a piece of bacon during the break a second ago, and I just thought it was fantastic. Yeah, that candy bacon is good. It's not the same as fried bacon. The only one better than bacon is more bacon. Baked is the best way, according to Walter. You can get it as crispy or as limp as you want. Yes, that is true. Somebody says bacon. Just bacon. No sugar. Just bacon. Richard, community donut, maple bacon donut. That actually doesn't do it for me. I understand it does for a lot of people. Like, I get it. Yeah. We are glad to be with you this morning and appreciate the time of the Secretary of State. He's always been generous with his time, Michael Watson has. And so I said to you, if you happen to be listening earlier, one of the reasons that I wanted to visit with the Secretary, if you listened, especially the first segment of that interview, and you took notes on everything that he said, because we touched about, 12 different topics related to redistricting, I think you would look at your page of notes and be like, what have I written down here? Like, what are we talking about? Because we're talking about really three things, three redistricting issues, potentially rolled into a single special session. But oh, by the way, and I didn't ask the Secretary of State this because it's not something that he could have or would have talked about as well. But I've talked to some people in the legal community that are going, hey, depending on what Judge Aycock rules, there may not be a need for a special section. There may not be a redistricting of the state Supreme Court districts that is necessary right now. It could all get put on hold. It's wild. And quickly, the three redistricting, the potential of congressional redistricting, the currency of the SCOTUS redistricting in Mississippi, and then revisiting last year's redistricting.
Interviews, weather, sports, all right here, all morning long. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I was 3 days short of pulling out of Kingsport. I was headed down to Houston town. Had a guitar pack and a burlap sack for exploiting my country sound. I bypassed Jackson, bypassed Memphis by the time I got to Arkansas. I sold my car and that black guitar for anything cool and tall.
8 o'clock hour, good morning to you. A rainy day across much of the Magnolia State, and a day that may see some severe storms as we get deeper into the day. As always, we remind you to be weather aware. And as always, we remind you that if severe weather is breaking and we are dealing with serious issues across the state of Mississippi, please keep it locked in to SuperTalk. We'll keep you up to date with the safety updates that you need, and, of course, at supertalk.fm. To be able to do that, sometimes we have weather-related issues that knock satellites offline or knock computers offline that cause you not to be able to listen on your favorite or local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. And so we encourage you to get the SuperTalk Mississippi app. It is free. It is available in the App Store. It is available from Google Play. And you can stream your local SuperTalk station right there on your phone, which reminds us to tell you, hey, be sure that you keep your phone charged because of the potential of bad weather today. If you've got a battery backup, maybe charge that. Make sure it's good to go so that you've got it handy this afternoon and tonight if necessary. But we'll keep you up to date with all that is going on. That is always our first mission at SuperTalk. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. We're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. So, kind of last night, transitioning into this morning with Iran, we talked about the fact that the president has backed off a little bit on epic freedom and the chauffeuring of boats through the Strait of Hormuz, and said, we're going to temporarily halt that. We're leaving the blockade in place. We're not giving you, Iran, free passage of your boats to make money while not allowing any other boats to come and go. If you've got a blockade in case, or if you have a block of the strait in place, then we're going to put a blockade in place so that your boats cannot come and go. So that's what President Trump announced yesterday, the U.S. pausing efforts to guide stranded vessels out of the Strait of Hormuz for a short period to give space for U.S. efforts to finalize a settlement with Iran to end the war. He added that the blockade, again, would remain in place. Marco Rubio insisted yesterday that a ceasefire in the Middle East is still holding, and that while the conflict is not resolved, the initial operation militarily has concluded. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Cain, weighed in. He said Iran's recent acts of aggression are below the threshold of major combat operations, meaning that Tehran has not violated what has been referred to over and over again as a tenuous, at best, ceasefire. Cain was speaking about the latest attacks on the United Arab Emirates, which has been a target of Iran since the U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on Iran really got this conflict going on February 28th. The Emiratis have, it's been an interesting couple of months from them. They have pulled out of OPEC, which is the Middle East oil cartel, and have said, we're actually going to do this on our own. And the UAE is actively engaging with missiles and drone attacks from Iran, according to that country's defense ministry, saying that it is intercepting ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. Which, again, Lance, I go to what we were saying earlier when I go, hold on a second. We got a ceasefire, but one of the parties in the ceasefire is shooting ballistic and cruise missiles at an ally or an ally's boat, but that's not a violation. I don't get it.
Yeah, that didn't sound like a ceasefire to me. My probability that the Iranians would stick to anything was zero, so I think they've lived up to that. And when you got four different factions trying to run a country, I don't think any of them really know who's running anything, but you got the elected officials, you got the clerics.
That may be the biggest
issue. You got the
IDF,
IDF, all of this. And then you got the military. You got four groups that are vying for and jockeying for position.
Well, hold on now. No, now, the IDF might love to run Iran, but I don't think they're going to be part of that group.
No, I'm just saying you got four that want the power, though. And,
yeah.
And I think
No. I'm not correcting you in the sense other than just acronyms getting rolled. I think IRGC is what you meant there.
the IRGC. I'm sorry, yeah, IRGC
but
military.
What you said was actually really funny because the Israeli Defense Forces would love to run Iran.
I think they're trying, but
they kind of are.
Yeah, didn't mean it that way. Yeah, definitely the Republican Guard. That's what I meant. So.
I know you did.
But
I just didn't want somebody to be listening and them go, "What the? What's he talking about?"
Yeah, I didn't want to go that route. But the other thing is the role the military would play, the actual military. You haven't heard a lot about them, and that's the kind of the wild card because that's your paid. Recruits from the people.
That's your national military.
That's your national. That's right. It's your National Guard
versus your regime military.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Do you have the elected officials and the military siding together with the IRGC and the hardliners? It seems like almost a civil war situation developing.
Yeah. Everything that Thomas and Greenwood sends us is tinged with sarcasm and skepticism. I would say
contrarian, yeah.
But there might be some truth to this message from Thomas. So now that Marco is involved, does that mean that the insider trading is done and we want to end this conflict?
I have a theory, but yeah. When you have Marco involved, it's going to be serious. I mean, that's my opinion, and I'm on record of that a month ago. He's the guy.
Can I? May I just say, and I don't know how popular this is in American political circles, Republican political circles. Marco Rubio should be the next president of the United States. And I realize that gets really, really sticky and hairy, and how do you deal with that with J.D. Vance? Because he's the sitting vice president, and there is a good relationship there. I don't know how you navigate that. But Marco Rubio has been the most exceptional statesman and the most skilled politician that we have seen since Bill Clinton. And that is not me as a Bill Clinton supporter. That is me recognizing the genius of Bill Clinton and his political chops. And don't come at me with Barack Obama. He was a product of a system.
Bill felt your pain, you know.
His ability to connect was spectacular. I don't know. I don't know how that is navigated with J.D. Vance. I really don't.
Well, I do believe we have time to see how it all shakes down. You know, if Rubio's chops are what we think, then there's going to be a lot more in front of him to prove himself. And then when you have Vance, again, nothing against J.D. Vance, but the role Rubio has played has been absolutely monolithic in almost everything that the Trump administration has tried to accomplish in the first year or so.
We get this message, ceasefire text line, DeSantis of Florida hopefully runs, but Rubio has been in D.C. too long. I'm going to push back. I don't know if you've seen this story circulating or not about Ron DeSantis.
Supreme Court, right?
But there is some very serious talk that the next appointment that Donald Trump makes to Supreme Court will be Ron DeSantis. And if you... I have said, and anybody I've said this to, I've not ever gotten pushback. The most significant accomplishment of Donald Trump's first term as president was the appointments that he made to the Supreme Court. That might be the most significant appointment across his 2 terms if DeSantis was appointed as a justice to the Supreme Court. It would be huge for those who are conservative in the United States. I think Ron DeSantis is smart enough to recognize that as well. Back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Try to guess the secret of a happy...
From the Venable Glass.
As the sun rises, he has all the news you need. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and the SuperTalk app.
Have mercy on me when it comes across and the good God I want. That just scares the devil right out of me.
Tomorrow, SuperTalk Mississippi is hitting the road. Join us live from the Pearl River Resort in Philadelphia from 10 until 6. It's a full day of coverage as we highlight the incredible partnership between Mississippi Farm Bureau and the Mississippi Food Network through their Farmers Feeding the Hungry initiative. Middays with Gerard Gibbert will be there from 10 to 1. Sports Talk Mississippi from 3 to 6. Keep listening to SuperTalk Mississippi for a day of inspiration, information, and celebration with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. That is all coming your way tomorrow, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Don Redman is going to join us coming up in just a few minutes. I have a question for you, Lance. This is This is not as hard-hitting as some of what we have been talking about. And I have a question for all of you on the C Spire text line. Have you ever used a double-sided retractable tape measure?
Yeah.
Do you see value in a double-sided tape measure beyond just a single printed side?
I mean, I 95% of the time use just, the one-sided ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. New Britain, Connecticut is the home of Stanley Black & Decker, and they are closing their last factory in New Britain, taking 300 jobs with it. Production has ended, layoffs have begun, and the factory will close for good on May 18th. Stanley, for the longest time, had the silver tape measures, and they still make those, right? The industry standard silver metal tape measures with the blade, which is the actual measuring part that's slightly rounded. But in 1999, an innovation that changed everything came from Stanley. You know what that innovation was, Lance?
What year was it?
1999.
99, okay. The
introduction of the Fat Max.
Oh, the Fat Max, yeah. I've had a couple of those.
That is a bad dude right there. That is the tape measure of all tape measures. 1/4 of an inch wider, easier to read, durable. You can use it as a hammer.
Yeah.
And I have.
If you're like me, if you can find them. I mean,
that's the issue.
Of them,
that is the issue. Finding the tape measure. Yeah. Yes, I am with you. The reason that Stanley gives for closing down its operations are they can't print double-sided tape measures in that factory, and they said that it didn't make sense to make that investment. Employees at Stanley Black & Decker in New Britain, Connecticut are skeptical of that explanation. I think it's about 90% of their employees are union workers, and they say they just don't want to negotiate with the unions and pay us a fair wage. It's a whole lot cheaper to make them in Thailand. And big box stores would actually point to that being a reality because while they harp on the fact that the double-sided tape measure has led to the downfall of Stanley, they are producing double-sided tape measures. There was one big box store in Connecticut that had 24 different versions of Stanley's tape measures. The silver ones, the double-sided ones. And of those 24, only 5 of those models were actually double-sided. Their biggest competitor has become Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Milwaukee also makes a really good tape measure. I would say the industry standard is the Stanley Fat Max, but the Milwaukee one is quite good.
Got to be innovative to stay in the game,
But the folks at Stanley are arguing that it's not about innovation. You could have done that and held on to that plant and those factories. Anyway, there was a story about that in the Wall Street Journal that I found to be quite interesting. I don't think I've ever owned a double-sided tape measure.
I got a couple of them. I got the big ones, the ones that get you out about 100 yards or 50 yards, the ones you roll with your hand. I got several of those.
But that's a different type tape measure altogether. We're talking about the ones with the belt clip.
Oh, yeah.
That you grab and, when you're trying to come up with 7 9/16, that's what you go to. Thomas sends us a picture of 2 Stanleys side by side. He said, which one is the China-made tape? Ooh, Thomas, I don't know. I don't know that I can just look at it and somebody said the silver ones are called Power Lock. Yeah, that was the original innovation back in the late 50s, early 60s was the Power Lock. And that changed the game because it was the first lockable tape measure.
Yeah, those things will cut you up.
But man, they're good. They're reliable.
In general, like the non-lock ones, you got to be careful with those. I think they'll come back and slap you.
Yeah. And look, there are a million different cheap tape measures that are out there. but I would argue that is one of those. I mean, in a pinch, if you got nothing else, you'll take the cheap plastic one. But in terms of the one that's going to last, and the one that's durable, the one that you really want, it's the Fat Max or the Milwaukee. And Milwaukee has gone to the wide blade also. The magnet on the end is a great tool for certain projects. It helps a lot. Yeah. When you got that thing extended out about 13 or 14 feet on a 25-foot tape measure, and then it starts to wobble, if you got that magnet on the end of it, if you've got metal on the opposite end, you can keep it in place a little bit better. Stanley's tapes aren't the same between models measurement-wise. Well, that seems like an issue. Because I feel like an inch should be an inch. And an eighth should be an eighth, and a quarter should be a quarter. They're not the same. That is a bit of a problem. Somebody says, I pinch a dollar bill. In a pinch, a dollar bill is 6 inches. Okay. Oh, that's what the picture that Thomas sent was showing, that an inch is not an inch when you compare the two tapes.
Well, you couldn't even then, though. I mean, with the question of which one's the Chinese one, how would you know which one's right or wrong on the picture?
So which one is which, Thomas? Is the shorter inch actually the inch, or is the bigger inch actually the inch? Where can I find one of those that has smaller inches? That's a good question.
You save a lot of wood that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, that story's at the Wall Street Journal. If you want to check it out. John in Pontotoc says Subway got sued on a foot long.
That sounds.
They were advertising a foot long submarine sandwich, and it was, I'm assuming, less than a foot.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like they're using the wrong tape measure there.
Yeah. Would that be the Chinese-made tape measure, or the?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
And was it admissible in court? I mean, were we able to establish which is an actual inch? Do fishermen use the longer inch tape measures so that they can brag about bigger fish? As my grandfather said this on the C Spire text line, there are two things in life that you don't skimp on: your tools and your fishing rod. I would argue also jelly.
I'd say batteries,
Are you a Duracell or an Energizer
No,
guy?
I mean like the ones for your car or your side-by-side or any of those.
Oh,
I grew
okay.
up with a dad that, thought he could recondition every battery, even if it was from 1976.
Mm-hmm.
So, always get stuck out on the lake or out in the middle of nowhere 5 miles out and, have no battery. Oh, yeah, I thought I charged that. Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Don't skimp, Dad. That's a battery.
Ray in Long Beach says fishermen will use the shorter inch tape measures so that more fish fit the limit size. Oh yeah, I guess I said that wrong. Fishermen would use the shorter tape so that their fish look bigger. The biggest event of the year on the coast is happening this weekend. It's CPR Fest 2026. It's this Saturday at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Looks like most of the weather issues are going to get out, and it's going to be wonderful. It'll be a nice full day with a ton of great hard rock bands, headlined by Stained. Tickets are going fast. Grab yours now at Ticketmaster.com. That is Ticketmaster.com. Don Redman from 888 will join us coming up next. We'll talk with him about gas prices, pain at the pump, and what the future looks like as we move toward the summer months and the vacation time of the year. That is when we come back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. We're back with you after this.
Just give me one thing that I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
From the Seabrook.com
and I'm digital.com.
You've got the news that matters. Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
ICC is a ticking on down the line. Well, I'm a little overweight and my logbook's way behind.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. In Mississippi, according to AAA, the average price of a gallon of unleaded gasoline, $3.97. The national average is $4.53.5. Don Redman joins us right now, spokesman for AAA Mississippi. Always good to catch up with Don. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
I appreciate your time. There's no doubt that there is pain at the pump right now. The average cost of gasoline is up significantly since the start of this conflict back at the end of February in Iran. Don, is there any relief in sight in your mind? We've seen the price of oil bounce around a little bit. We've seen the stock market bounce around, although it is sitting at basically all-time record highs. What about gas prices?
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for some kind of stability. I think it all boils down to the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, if suddenly traffic can flow through there without it being attacked by drones or speedboats or anything like that, or no mines, and suddenly we're seeing traffic flow through there, well, I think the prices will then start coming down precipitously. But in the short term, until that's resolved, I mean, I think it's really going to be driven on the news of the day. Yesterday, there was bad news. Suddenly, you saw the price of crude jump over $100, and now it's down by 7.5% today. The West Texas Intermediate crude, WTI crude, is down under $92, I think, right now. So, I mean, it's very volatile, and unfortunately for the consumer, how do I budget for that? And I'm definitely, now the mindset, budget $4. We're 3 cents away from that. I mean, it's still in the long run, when you consider what we saw in 2022, and that's when Russia invaded Ukraine, we saw the price of crude spike about 139, and that was in March of 2022. By June in Mississippi, we were paying $4.55 a gallon. The crude has not gone that high up. In fact, it's really contrary to what a lot of the experts thought. It's been touching around, I think maybe 112 was about the highest. So there is hope that there's downward movement on the price of crude, but crude accounts for typically about 50 to 60% of the price of gasoline. Right now with a war premium, I'm saying the price of crude affects about 70% of the price of gasoline. So again, if we get that traffic moving, flowing around the Strait of Hormuz without there being any kind of tax, but I really think that crude's going to just start dropping precipitously. And that's going to help us at the pump.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. The messaging around this topic on price of gasoline seems to vary within the Trump administration. You have the president who lays out a pretty rosy picture that once, the way that you described it just a moment ago, once things settle in the Strait of Hormuz, gas is going to fall precipitously. Chris Turner, the Secretary of Energy, has been a little more cautious in that prediction. And then you've got Scott Bessent with the Department of Treasury, Secretary of the Treasury, who's saying, yeah, it's going to come down pretty quickly, and they don't necessarily agree with the Energy Secretary. Who should we listen to? Who should we believe in that scenario as they discuss particularly gas prices, but overall energy prices?
Yeah, I guess maybe precipitously is a term that it's beholden to who hears it and what that means. You're right. Once those prices for crude comes down, let's say they come down to $80 a barrel, $75 a barrel, it's still going to take a few weeks before the consumer sees it. And I think most of us have always noticed that prices never seem to drop as quickly as they rise. We saw a nickel increase, for example, just overnight between yesterday and today. I don't think there's going to be a nickel drop, but because some of that is a lot of the service stations have locked into contracts because the price of gasoline is so volatile. They want some kind of help in determining what those prices are. So they'll lock into a contract. If prices start suddenly dropping, they're stuck with that higher cost of gasoline. So it's going to take a few weeks to work out through the system. Those independent service stations that buy gasoline, bulk gasoline week by week, they're the ones who are going to be able to drop the prices a lot quicker. But they're also the ones that jump up real quick. And so there's the downside of those week to by week contracts. But I think when I say precipitous, I'm talking about 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. You'll see those prices they'll come down in increments, but I mean, it'll definitely get back to pre-war prices for sure.
Why does the cost of a gallon of gas vary the way it does across the state of Mississippi? You look at the northern part of the state, up around DeSoto County, you're a little over $4 a gallon. Comparable in Jackson, a little bit less on the coast, which is closer to refineries. And then Hattiesburg, that kind of Pine Belt area, seems to generally be the lowest priced gas in the state. Why does it vary within the state?
Yeah, we're asked that question constantly, and when you touched on it, when you talked about near the refineries, there's some prices, you do get a discount by the closer you are for the distribution. However, there may be higher tax costs, on the Gulf Coast, just the insurance for because there's a threat of hurricanes or what have you. The Gulf Coast is just more expensive. So though they're closer to the refineries, there is built into that higher cost for labor, higher cost for insurance, those type of things as well. And that's where you're going to see across the state is how far do delivery trucks have to go to fill up a service station? What kind of competition do you have? In more rural areas, you're not going to have quite the same competition. And then you have the service stations that are closest to interstates, and those are going to be more expensive, and that kind of skews the average for that region. But tax burdens, property tax, labor costs, all that's going to be factored into that price for that gasoline.
All right,
so there's multiple causes for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so in an area where there is significant competition, I live in Oxford, for example, and you might have gas stations within the city limits of Oxford that vary by as much as 30 cents a gallon in the same city limits area. Is that just a business decision that certain gas stations are making compared to others?
Well, it also goes back to what I talked earlier about those contracts. Okay. Some of those service stations may have been locked into a contract at a higher price. When they start going down, they're stuck with them. And I've seen that constantly. And some side by side, it's like, man, can't you lower the price? I mean, see what your competition's doing? But they were locked in at a higher price. That's typically what I've seen is the cause of that, is that they're at a higher price. And there's also a difference between an independently owned versus a corporate owned. And corporations have really moved into the business. They used to stay away from owning service stations, but they really moved in. And so that kind of takes away some of that competition when a corporate owns a service station rather than an individual, a franchisee or something like that. So there's no, we applaud competition, and we certainly encourage people to look around for the prices within reason. I mean, don't drive across town to fill up, but
Yeah. Last thing I want to hit on with you are airline prices. We have the news in the last week of Spirit Airlines, a low-cost carrier that has shut down entirely. Certainly there are a lot of people that pointed to the DOJ that got in the way of the merger between JetBlue and Spirit, what was it, a year or so ago. And now we see Spirit going, we can't continue to operate this way. Prices across the board with air travel are up significantly. Is that tied directly to the higher cost of jet fuel, or is there more going on there?
No, it's all about the jet fuel. Absolutely. And of course, what we've, just as with gas companies, gas stations, we say it with airlines. I mean, when you start reducing competition, that's never good for the consumer. It just never is. But no doubt that when you get fewer choices for airlines, that's going to jack up the cost. But right now, it's definitely that jet fuel. It's just really driving up those prices. And they, airlines are not going to absorb that. They're going to pass that on to the consumer for sure.
They certainly are. The consumer seems to, more times than not, be the loser in all of these conversations. And we didn't even touch on diesel, which is just, for the folks that are driving diesel trucks, whether it's over-the-road haulers or people who just have diesel pickups, it is tough right now for them at the pump.
Oh, absolutely. We talk about gasoline being roughly $1 more per gallon than before the start of the war. Diesel's more like $2 higher than it was before the start of the war. Diesel's just really gone through the roof. And one of the things is that it's one of the leading exports for the U.S.
Yeah.
Our diesel is highly sought for in Europe, which again is relying heavily on us output of diesel. And so we're paying for it. And that trickles down everywhere.
Yeah.
Groceries, anything at the store, anything being shipped by diesel, we're going to pay for it again.
Don, always appreciate your time and your insight. Good catching up this morning.
Yep, thank you.
Don Redman, spokesman for AAA Mississippi. Wish we had better news for you right now, but maybe if we can get things under control in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, it will get better. Hopefully fast.
From the Venable Glass.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And I'm tired of taking blame when I ain't done nothing wrong. I'm tired of other people trying to take what's mine. And I'm tired of y'all playing dress up and trying to sing them old country songs.
Good to be with you this morning. A couple of things to hit here as we wrap up on this Wednesday edition of Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Benny Thompson has an open invitation to join us on Mornings with Richard Cross. I've said that many times, and I mean it. Love to visit with the congressman. While he has not been willing to visit with us, he was willing to visit with Al Sharpton on Politics Nation on MS Now. That is previously MSNBC. They went with a rebrand. He talked about the Supreme Court ruling in Louisiana versus Calais and compared it to a second civil war. The impact of the ruling will have far-reaching implications, especially in southern states like Mississippi. Every voting district in Mississippi, from school boards to city councils, county supervisors to state legislators, judicial seats to Congress, have been forced to consider racial quotas when drawing districts in the past, meaning that all could be up for redistricting in the near future. Remember, the Supreme Court decision ultimately said districts cannot be drawn solely on the basis of race, solely on the basis of the color of your skin. And it's interesting that Democrats in particular are screaming discrimination, discrimination, when the truth of the matter is those voting districts, those districts that were mandated to be drawn as majority-minority districts, were drawn on the basis of exactly that, the color of skin. Not based on population, not based on population distribution, really not even based on political leanings, though in Mississippi, historically, skin color has translated to political ideology as well. That is, I think, less the case today, maybe than it has been at some points along the way. But Benny Thompson said this to Al Sharpton. By the way, he is backed heavily by the Southern Poverty Law Center, who we recently found out from the Department of Justice is being investigated and charged with funding white supremacy groups. And the part they won't say out loud is because white supremacy groups fuel hate, and hate fuels Democrats in their opposition to Republicans, and without that hate and without that, at times, civil unrest, their cause is hampered. And so they were funneling money to organizations. Southern Poverty Law Center was funneling money to organizations that were fueling that hatred. Benny Thompson says this, for a new generation of people, they have to understand that the same struggle that got us to this point, if they take it back, the struggle will continue. In South Africa, they say, a luta continua. The struggle continues, and we will continue to fight. He said, we're going to have to get our act together. We're going to have to resist with every fiber in our body. We're going to have to take this system on at every election. So if you were curious at all about the prediction that Secretary of State Michael Watson made earlier, if there is redistricting in Mississippi and other states, it will be challenged in court. One other thing I leave you with, we talked, I guess it was a week ago, 8 days ago, with Representative Clay DeWeese. We were talking about the launch of the disaster loan program for cities and counties that were affected by Winter Storm Fern. I have been told by multiple people in different parts of the state how successful that program has been in its first week. Remember, it's a $125 million zero-interest revolving loan program on reimbursable expenses from FEMA. Cities and counties overwhelmingly, maybe not exclusively, but overwhelmingly have been thrilled with the way that this program has been administered by MEMA, by the access to funds to help offset in the short term some of the costs that they are having to come up with out of pocket. The system may not be perfect, but sometimes we're very quick to be critical of the legislature and the way they go about things. I feel like in this particular sense, we should say, well done, legislature, attaboy. May not be perfect, but man, it has been a lifeline for a lot of cities and counties, municipalities across the state of Mississippi dealing with the financial aftermath of Winter Storm Fern. Thanks for being with us on this Wednesday morning. For Lance, I'm Richard. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.